The day my divorce became official, I owned two suitcases, a 10-year-old Honda, and exactly $43 after paying the deposit on a studio apartment I had never seen in daylight. Rachel kept the house. She kept the furniture, the wedding gifts, the expensive coffee machine she never learned how to use, and the framed photographs she had already removed me from. I kept my clothes. At 28, that was apparently what 5 years of marriage added up to. "Don't forget the garage remote," Rachel said from the front porch. I stopped beside my car and looked back at her. She stood with her arms folded, wearing the cream sweater I had bought her last Christmas. Behind her, the front door was open. The home I had renovated with my own hands looked like it had already rejected me. "The remote is on the kitchen counter," I said. "And the spare key?" "Next to it." She nodded. No apology. No hesitation. Then her eyes moved to my suitcases. "You're taking the blue one?" "It's mine. My mother gave us that set. She gave it to both of us." Rachel let out a tired laugh. "Austin, don't make this difficult." I stared at her. The woman who had asked for the divorce because I was holding her back was warning me not to make things difficult. "I'm taking the suitcase, Rachel." She rolled her eyes. "Fine. Take it. God knows you need something." That hit harder than it should have. I grabbed the handle and opened the trunk. The suitcase didn't fit. Of course it didn't. I had packed my entire life into 2 bags, and even my car didn't have room for it. Rachel watched me struggle for several seconds. "You should have rented a truck." "I couldn't afford one." "You could have asked." I looked at her. "Asked who?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Neither of us had an answer. My friends had slowly become her friends during the marriage. My parents lived in Oregon and still believed the divorce was a temporary separation. My younger brother had just started medical school and was already borrowing money from me. There was nobody coming. I pushed the suitcase harder. The trunk bounced back. Damn it! A black Mercedes stopped at the curb behind me. I barely noticed until the driver's door opened. Black heels touched the pavement first. Then came a charcoal gray coat, a sharp white blouse, and the expression that had made senior executives forget their own presentations. Evelyn Carter, CEO of Carter Global. My boss. Rachel's face changed instantly. Everyone in Chicago knew Evelyn's name. At 32, she controlled a $1 billion logistics company, 3 private investment funds, and a boardroom full of men twice her age who were terrified of disappointing her. At the office, people called her the Ice Queen. Never where she could hear them. Evelyn walked toward me without acknowledging Rachel. Her eyes went from my car to the suitcase, then to the cardboard box on the back seat. "Is that everything?" she asked. I tightened my grip on the handle. "Miss Carter." "Evelyn." I glanced at Rachel. She was staring at us. "What are you doing here?" I asked. Evelyn took the suitcase handle from my hand. I held on. She looked down at my fingers. "Austin, that's my bag." "I'm aware." "Then let go." "No." There was no anger in her voice. That made it worse. Rachel stepped off the porch. "Excuse me, but why is his CEO here?" Evelyn finally looked at her. "Because he sent me the final project report at 3:47 this morning." That doesn't answer my question. It answers enough of it. Rachel looked at me. "You called her?" I didn't even know she had my address. Evelyn pulled the suitcase from my hand before I could stop her. She carried it toward the Mercedes. I followed. "Where are you taking that?" "To my car." "I can see that." "Why?" "Because it won't fit in yours." "I'll make it fit." "No, you won't." She opened her trunk and placed the suitcase inside like the argument had already ended. Rachel gave a sharp laugh. "This is unbelievable." Evelyn returned for the second suitcase. I stepped in front of it. "Stop." She stopped. For the first time, her expression shifted. Not much. Just enough for me to see something beneath the cold control. Concern. "You're not going to that apartment," she said. My stomach tightened. "How do you know about the apartment?" "You listed the new address on your HR forms." "You checked my HR forms?" "I checked whether one of my best employees had somewhere safe to live." Rachel crossed her arms. "Safe? It's an apartment, not a war zone." Evelyn's gaze cut toward her. "The building has 3 unresolved code violations, a broken security entrance, and 2 police reports from last month." I stared at her. "You researched it?" "I made 1 phone call." "You had no right." "No," she said calmly. "I had a responsibility." "To an employee?" Her eyes locked on mine. The silence lasted half a second too long. Rachel noticed. "So did I?" Evelyn looked away first and reached for the second suitcase. I blocked her again. Ms. Carter. Evelyn. I'm not going home with you. Yes, you are. Rachel laughed louder. Is this how you run your company? You just order men into your house. Evelyn slowly turned toward her. No. Only the ones who spent 5 years being convinced they didn't deserve one. The air went still. Rachel's face hardened. You don't know anything about our marriage. I know Austin worked 12-hour days, then answered emails after midnight because you told him his salary wasn't enough. Careful, Rachel said. I know he turned down a promotion in New York because you refused to move. That was our decision. I know he used his bonus to pay off your graduate loans. Rachel looked at me. You discussed our finances with her? I didn't. Evelyn answered for me. Payroll deductions are not difficult to understand. Rachel took another step forward. So what is this? You've been waiting for him to get divorced. Evelyn's face became unreadable again, but her hand tightened around the suitcase handle. I saw it. Rachel saw it too. She smiled. It was the first real smile she had given me all day. Oh my God, she said softly. You have. Rachel, I warned. No, this is perfect. She looked at Evelyn. The great Evelyn Carter wants my leftovers. Something inside me snapped. Enough. Rachel blinked. During our marriage, I had learned to lower my voice whenever she raised hers. I had apologized to end arguments I didn't start. I had accepted blame because peace felt cheaper than dignity. Not anymore. You asked me to leave, I said. I left. You don't get to insult me on the way out. Her eyes narrowed. I wasn't talking to you. You were talking about me. Austin. No. We're done, remember? The words landed between us. Rachel looked stunned, then angry, then, for one brief second, uncertain. Evelyn moved beside me. Not in front of me. Beside me. That mattered. She picked up the second suitcase. This time, I didn't stop her. Rachel pointed toward the Mercedes. You get into that car, and everyone at your company will know exactly what you are. I turned back. And what's that? A man living off a powerful woman. Evelyn opened the passenger door. Then she looked directly at Rachel. He's lived for years supporting a woman who never respected him. I think he's earned one night where someone supports him. Rachel's face went pale. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. I'm not staying with you, I told Evelyn. She placed my cardboard box on the back seat. Yes, you are. For one night. She closed the door. All of it. I frowned. All of what? Your clothes. Your books. Whatever else is still inside that house. Rachel's head jerked up. He's not taking anything else. Evelyn ignored her. She took my car keys from my hand. I stared at her. Did you just steal my keys? I'm having your car delivered tomorrow. You can't decide that. I already did. Evelyn. She stepped closer. Her voice dropped low enough that Rachel couldn't hear. I know you don't want pity. Then stop treating me like I need to be rescued. I'm not rescuing you. What do you call this? Her eyes held mine. Taking you somewhere no one is allowed to make you feel unwanted. I forgot how to answer. She reached past me and opened the passenger door wider. Get in. I glanced at the house. Rachel stood on the porch, furious and silent. Then I looked at my old Honda, my cheap apartment key, and the 2 suitcases already inside Evelyn Carter's car. This is a terrible idea, I said. Probably. People will talk. They already do. I'm not your responsibility. Her expression softened by one dangerous degree. I know. Then why are you doing this? She looked at me for several seconds. When she answered, her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. Because I watched you walk into my office every morning pretending you weren't falling apart. My throat tightened. And because today, I'm done pretending I don't see it. I didn't move. Evelyn placed one hand on the roof of the car and leaned closer. Get in, Austin. I swallowed. Where are we going? My house. For tonight. She shook her head. Then the Ice Queen of Carter Global delivered the order that would destroy every safe boundary between us. All your things are going to my place. Her gaze dropped briefly to my wedding ring mark, then returned to my eyes. From today on, you live with me. I should have refused. I should have taken my keys back, dragged my suitcases into the Honda, and driven to the apartment with the broken front entrance. Instead, I got into Evelyn Carter's Mercedes. The moment the door closed, Rachel disappeared behind tinted glass. Evelyn walked around the car and sat behind the wheel. Neither of us spoke. She started the engine. I stared straight ahead. You embarrassed her. She embarrassed you first. That doesn't make this normal. I never claimed it was normal. You took my luggage. It was blocking the sidewalk. You took my keys. You were angry. I'm still angry. I noticed. Her calm voice made me want to argue harder. You can't order people into your home just because you're used to getting your way. She pulled away from the curb. I don't order people into my home. You just did. I ordered you. That's not better. It wasn't meant to be. I turned toward her. Do you hear yourself? Yes. And I remained comfortable with my decision. I let out a disbelieving laugh. Evelyn glanced at me. You haven't laughed in 3 months. That wasn't a happy laugh. It still counts. I looked away before she could see the effect that had on me. The city moved past the window. Downtown traffic was thick, but Evelyn drove like every car had already agreed to get out of her way. I reached into my jacket pocket and touched the brass key to my new apartment. I paid the deposit. I'll reimburse you. No. Then consider it lost. I can't afford to consider money lost. Her jaw tightened. I know. The answer was too quick. I looked at her. How much do you know? Enough. That means nothing. It means I know you sold your motorcycle last year. My chest tightened. That wasn't company business. No. I never told anyone. You were late to a client dinner because the buyer didn't show up on time. I remembered that night. Rachel had needed money for a certification program. I had sold the motorcycle my father gave me after college and told everyone I was bored with it. Evelyn had said nothing. Apparently, she had noticed everything. She continued, I know you stopped ordering lunch in February. I brought food from home. You brought coffee. That's technically something. It is not lunch. I stared at her profile. What else? She didn't answer. Evelyn. Her fingers tightened around the steering wheel. I know you slept in your office twice last month. My mouth went dry. How? Security records. You checked those too? You missed 2 morning meetings. You never miss meetings. I was tired. You were afraid to go home. The words hit with humiliating accuracy. I turned toward the window. For several blocks, the only sound was the engine. Then Evelyn said, I'm not asking you to explain. It sounds like you already decided what happened. I decided you needed somewhere to breathe. And you chose your house. Yes. Why not a hotel? Because you would leave. I might leave your house too. No, you won't. I looked at her again. You're incredibly arrogant. So I've been told. Usually by people you fired? Usually just before. I almost laughed again. This time, she noticed. The corner of her mouth moved. Barely. But I saw it. You smiled, I said. No, I didn't. You did. Prove it. The strange ease between us lasted exactly 10 seconds. Then my phone rang. Rachel. I watched her name flash across the screen. Evelyn kept her eyes on the road, but the temperature in the car seemed to drop. You can answer, she said. I know. The phone kept ringing. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. This time, Evelyn spoke. She thinks you'll go back. She thinks I always go back. Will you? No. The answer came before I could question it. Evelyn nodded once. Something in her shoulders relaxed. Rachel called a third time. I turned the phone off. Good, Evelyn said. Don't sound so pleased. I'm not pleased. You look pleased. I always look like this. That's true. Her mouth almost moved again. 20 minutes later, we entered a private garage beneath a glass building overlooking the Chicago River. I looked up through the windshield. You live here? Top 2 floors. Of course you do. What does that mean? It means 1 floor wasn't enough. 1 floor is for living. The other is mostly office space. That somehow makes it worse. She parked beside a silver SUV. Before I could open my door, she was already at the trunk. I got out quickly. I can carry my own bags. I know. Then let me. She handed me the lighter suitcase and kept the larger one. I stared at her. You did that on purpose. Yes. Why? Because you need to feel useful. That's insulting. It's accurate. We entered a private elevator. I held the suitcase between us. The mirrored walls made everything worse. My wrinkled shirt. My tired face. The pale line on my finger where my wedding ring had been. Evelyn looked exactly as she always did at the office. Controlled, elegant, impossible to read. Except she was carrying my suitcase. The elevator doors opened into a wide entryway. A woman in her 60s appeared from a hallway. She wore dark slacks, a white blouse, and an expression of open surprise. Ms. Carter, she said. You're home early. Margaret, this is Austin Hayes. Margaret looked at me, then at the suitcase, then back at Evelyn. Understanding appeared far too quickly. I see, she said. No, you don't, I replied. Evelyn stepped out of the elevator. Austin will be staying here. Margaret's eyebrows rose. For how long? Evelyn didn't hesitate. Indefinitely. I nearly dropped the suitcase. No. Both women looked at me. I pointed at Evelyn. We agreed on one night. We did not. You said I was coming here. Yes. You didn't say indefinitely. I said all your things were coming. That could mean temporary storage. It did not. Margaret turned away, but I saw her hide a smile. This isn't funny, I said. No, sir, she replied. Of course not. Evelyn walked toward the stairs. Your room is upstairs. My room? Yes. You already have a room for me? She stopped. For the first time since arriving, she looked uncertain. Only for a second. Then the mask returned. It's a guest room. Margaret made a small sound behind us. Evelyn looked at her. Margaret cleared her throat. I'll prepare dinner. You don't have to, I said. She already did, Evelyn replied. How could she prepare dinner when she didn't know I was coming? Margaret looked at Evelyn. Evelyn looked at Margaret. I looked between them. What is going on? Nothing, Evelyn said. Margaret spoke at the same time. Miss Carter called me this morning. Silence. I turned slowly toward Evelyn. This morning, Evelyn's expression did not change. Before the divorce was finalized? Yes. You planned this. I prepared for a possibility. You drove to my house with an empty trunk. That was practical. You told Margaret I was coming. I told her you might. Margaret raised a hand. She said to make the salmon you like. I stared at Evelyn. She closed her eyes for half a second. Margaret smiled politely. I'll be in the kitchen. She disappeared before Evelyn could stop her. I folded my arms. You know what I like to eat? It was served at the executive retreat. That was 8 months ago. I have a good memory. You hate salmon. Her gaze sharpened. How do you know that? You moved it around your plate for an hour. We stood there, both realizing the same thing. She noticed me. I noticed her. Far more than either of us had admitted. Evelyn looked away first. Your room is upstairs. I followed her. The room was larger than my entire new apartment. A queen bed stood against one wall. There was a desk by the window, a bookshelf, and a folded set of gray towels. Then I saw the nightstand. My favorite brand of coffee sat beside a new mug. On the shelf were 3 crime novels I had mentioned during a lunch meeting months ago. A phone charger matched my exact model. I walked farther into the room. This isn't a guest room. Yes, it is. It has my coffee. Many people drink that coffee. It has books I like. They're popular. I opened the closet. Inside were empty hangers, a garment bag, and a pair of house slippers in my size. I turned around. Do many guests have size 11 feet? Evelyn's face remained controlled, but the tips of her ears turned pink. You're exhausted, she said. Unpack. How long has this room been ready? It hasn't. Evelyn. She reached for the suitcase. I placed my hand over the handle. Neither of us moved. Her fingers were beneath mine. The contact lasted 1 second. Maybe 2. Then she pulled away. I'll be downstairs. She turned toward the door. I should have let her leave. Instead, I said, did you want me here before today? She stopped. Her back remained toward me. I waited. When she answered, her voice was quieter than I had ever heard it. Wanting something doesn't give you the right to take it. I looked at the room prepared for me. You took me today. She glanced over her shoulder. No. Her eyes held mine. Today, you were finally free to choose. Then she left. I stood alone in a room she claimed had not been waiting for me. 10 minutes later, my phone came back on. 32 missed calls. 7 messages from Rachel. And 1 email from a coworker. The subject line made my stomach drop. You and Carter are already all over the office. I opened it. Attached was a photo of Evelyn taking my suitcase from my driveway. Under it, someone had written, guess we know how Austin survived the divorce. The Ice Queen bought him. I read the message 3 times. The words didn't change. The Ice Queen bought him. Below the photo, replies were already multiplying. That explains his promotion. Was the divorce part of the deal? Carter doesn't do charity. He must be useful somehow. My hand tightened around the phone. I had worked at Carter Global for 4 years. 4 years of missed weekends, canceled vacations, and presentations rebuilt overnight because a client changed 1 number. I had earned every raise, every promotion, every seat at that table. 1 photograph had erased all of it. A knock sounded behind me. Evelyn entered without waiting. Dinner is ready. I turned the phone toward her. Have you seen this? Her eyes moved over the screen. Nothing changed in her face. That frightened me more than anger would have. Who sent it? She asked. That's your first question? Yes. Why? So I know who to fire. I lowered the phone. You can't fire everyone who talks about us. Watch me. That will make it worse. They accused you of trading your dignity for professional advancement. And if you start firing people, they'll believe it. Her gaze hardened. I don't care what they believe. I do. Why? Because I still have to work there. You don't have to prove yourself to people who behave like this. Yes, I do. No, you don't. You can say that because your name is on the building. The words came out sharper than I intended. Evelyn went still. I continued before I lost my nerve. You walk into a room, and everyone already knows your value. I walk in and have to earn mine every single day. I know your value. You knowing isn't enough. Her jaw tightened. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she held out her hand. Give me the phone. No. Austin, what are you going to do? Correct the situation. That sounds threatening. It is. I stepped back. I'll handle it. You are not handling this alone. I've handled everything alone for years. The second the words left my mouth, I regretted them. Not because they were false. Because of the look in her eyes. It wasn't anger. It was pain. She lowered her hand. Dinner is downstairs, she said. Then she walked out. I stood in the room, still holding the phone. I should have followed immediately. Instead, I opened Rachel's messages. Are you seriously staying with her? People are sending me pictures. Do you understand how humiliating this is for me? I laughed once. Of course that was her concern. Not whether I was okay. Not whether I had somewhere safe to sleep. How it looked for her. The final message was different. Come back tonight. We can talk before this gets worse. I stared at it. For 5 years, Rachel had made every decision in our marriage feel final. Until I accepted it. Then suddenly, everything could be discussed. I typed a reply. There's nothing left to discuss. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I sent it. The answer came immediately. You'll regret choosing her. I turned the phone off again. Downstairs, dinner waited untouched. Evelyn sat at one end of a long table with a tablet beside her plate. Margaret placed a bowl of roasted vegetables between us. You're late, Evelyn said. It's been 6 minutes. You're still late. I sat across from her. The salmon looked exactly the way I liked it. Lemon, black pepper, no heavy sauce. That should not have affected me. It did. Margaret poured water into my glass. Ms. Carter asked me to make mashed potatoes too. Evelyn looked up. Margaret, what? Margaret asked innocently. Mr. Hayes should know someone remembered. I looked at Evelyn. She focused on her tablet. Thank you, I told Margaret. You're welcome. She walked back toward the kitchen, leaving the two of us in silence. I took a bite. It was the first real food I had eaten all day. Evelyn watched me. Is it acceptable? It's good. Only good. It's very good. She relaxed slightly. I almost smiled. Then her tablet chimed. She read something. The warmth disappeared from her expression. What now? I asked. Nothing. Your face says otherwise. My face always looks like this. You used that excuse in the car. It remains accurate. I held out my hand. Let me see. No. You demanded my phone 10 minutes ago. That was different. How? I'm your employer. Right now, you're the woman who kidnapped my luggage. Her eyes lifted to mine. Kidnapped. You removed it without consent. I relocated it. Against its will. It's a suitcase. That's what all kidnappers say. For 1 second, Evelyn looked shocked. Then she laughed. Not the almost smile from the car. A real laugh. Soft, brief, and completely unexpected. I stared at her. She stopped immediately. You laughed. No. That was absolutely a laugh. You misheard. Margaret, I called. Margaret's voice came from the kitchen. Yes. Did Ms. Carter just laugh? There was a pause. Then Margaret replied, I've worked here 9 years. I'm not risking my job by answering that. I smiled despite myself. Evelyn looked down at her plate. Her ears turned pink again. The tablet chimed a second time. She picked it up. This time, I saw the headline before she turned it away. Carter Global CEO in Office Affair Scandal. My stomach dropped. Give me that. No. I stood and walked around the table. Evelyn rose too, but I caught the tablet before she could lock the screen. The article was from a local business gossip site. It used the driveway photo. The headline suggested I had been promoted because of a secret relationship with Evelyn. The article claimed we had been seen leaving hotels together. That was a lie. It claimed Rachel had filed for divorce after discovering the affair. Another lie. At the bottom, an unnamed source from Carter Global described me as an ambitious middle manager who knew exactly how to get close to the CEO. My face burned. This was posted 12 minutes ago. I know. How? My legal department sent it to me. You already called them? I called them from your hallway. I looked at her. You said dinner was ready. It was. You were handling this without telling me. Yes. After telling me, I didn't have to handle it alone. Her eyes narrowed. There is a difference between protecting you and excluding you. Not from where I'm standing. I didn't want you reading this. You don't get to decide what I can handle. And you don't get to pretend this doesn't hurt you. Her voice rose for the first time. The room went silent. Even Margaret didn't move in the kitchen. Evelyn stepped closer. You looked at that message upstairs like someone had taken 4 years of your life and turned them into a dirty joke. I said nothing. She continued. You think I don't understand what reputation costs. You don't understand what it costs when you don't have power. Her expression sharpened. No, Austin. I understand exactly. She took the tablet from my hand. When my father died, every newspaper said I inherited a company I wasn't qualified to run. When I fired the executives stealing from us, they called me unstable. When I refused to marry a man chosen by the board, they said I was emotional. Her voice stayed controlled, but something fierce moved beneath it. I built this company while people waited for me to fail. Do not tell me I don't understand what a lie can cost. The anger left me. I didn't know. No, you didn't. She placed the tablet on the table. Then she turned toward the windows. For the first time, the Ice Queen looked tired. Not cold. Tired. I'm sorry, I said. She shook her head. Don't apologize because I raised my voice. I'm apologizing because I was wrong. That made her look back at me. I took a breath. What happens now? Legal sends a retraction demand. Internal security traces the original photo. HR investigates the employee who circulated it. And me? You come to work tomorrow. I laughed bitterly. That's your plan. You walk through the front entrance. Everyone will stare. Yes. They'll whisper. Yes. And I'm supposed to act like nothing happened? No. She came closer. You're supposed to look them in the eye and make them ashamed they ever doubted you. That sounds easier when you say it. I'll be beside you. The words struck harder than they should have. I looked at her. You can't walk me into work. Why not? Because the entire scandal is about us. Then hiding would make it look true. Arriving together will make it worse. Only for people who confuse confidence with guilt. I ran a hand through my hair. This is insane. Yes. You agree? I agreed when I took your suitcase. I looked toward the stairs. The room upstairs waited for me. The apartment key was still in my pocket. I could leave. I should leave. Instead, I asked, how long has that room really been ready? Evelyn froze. The question had nothing to do with the article. That was why it mattered. She looked toward Margaret. Margaret suddenly became very interested in rearranging dishes. Evelyn. Her eyes returned to mine. 6 months, she said. My chest tightened. 6 months. It was renovated 6 months ago. For me. She didn't answer. I walked closer. You bought my coffee, my books, a charger for my phone. I like being prepared. For a divorced employee moving into your home. Her expression faltered. I didn't know you would divorce. But you hoped I would. No. The answer came fast. Too fast. She looked down. I hoped you would stop being miserable. The anger inside me disappeared completely. Before I could respond, the elevator chimed. Evelyn turned sharply. No one is scheduled to come up. Margaret stepped out of the kitchen. The elevator doors opened. Rachel walked into the penthouse holding a folder. Her eyes moved from me to the dinner table, then to Evelyn standing only a foot away. Her mouth tightened. I knew it, she said. I stared at her. How did you get up here? I told security I was your wife. Ex-wife. Rachel lifted the folder. Not quite. She dropped it onto the table. The divorce papers slid out. My signature was there. Hers wasn't. I never filed the final page, she said. Evelyn's face turned to ice. Rachel smiled at me. So before you start playing house with your boss, Austin, you should know something. She tapped the unsigned document. You're still legally married to me." For several seconds, no one moved. Rachel stood beside the dining table with one hand resting on the unsigned divorce papers. Evelyn looked at the documents, then at me. Her face revealed nothing. That was worse than anger. I grabbed the papers and checked the final page. My signature was there. Rachel's line was blank. "You told me everything had been filed." I said the attorney had everything. "You lied." I changed my mind. "You changed your mind after I left with Evelyn." Rachel's gaze shifted toward her. "This has nothing to do with her." Evelyn spoke quietly. "You entered my home by falsely claiming to be Austin's wife. You have 30 seconds to explain why I shouldn't have security remove you." Rachel laughed. "You can threaten me at work, Miss Carter. Not here. This is my home." The smile disappeared from Rachel's face. Evelyn reached for her phone. I raised a hand. "Wait." Her eyes moved to me. I hated the question inside them. Was I going back? "Rachel," I said, "why didn't you sign?" She folded her arms. "Because divorce is permanent." That was the point. "You're angry." "I'm not angry. You're living in another woman's house less than 12 hours after leaving ours. I didn't plan this. But you accepted it." I glanced at Evelyn. She stood perfectly still, but her fingers were locked around her phone. Rachel followed my gaze. Her voice softened. "Austin, come home." I thought I had misheard her. "What?" "Come home tonight. We'll call the attorney tomorrow and stop the divorce." "You asked me to leave." I made a mistake. The words should have mattered. For years, I had waited for Rachel to admit she was wrong. I had imagined the relief I would feel. There was none. Only suspicion. "What changed?" I asked. I had time to think. "You had months. You never actually left before." The truth slipped out before she could stop it. I stared at her. Rachel's expression tightened. She tried again. "I didn't realize how serious you were. I packed everything I owned. You always calmed down. I always surrendered." "That's not fair." "It's exactly what happened." She stepped closer. "You loved me." "I did." "Then you don't stop in one day." "No. You stop a little at a time." Rachel went silent. I continued. "You stop when your wife laughs after her friends ask why she married you. You stop when every sacrifice becomes proof you lack ambition. You stop when she tells you the house is hers because she chose the neighborhood. I never said the house was only mine. You told me to remember whose name was on the deed." Her face changed. She remembered. "So don't stand here and act like Evelyn stole something from you." I said. "You threw it away." Rachel's eyes filled with anger. "You think she respects you?" Evelyn's voice cut through the room. "Choose your next sentence carefully." Rachel ignored her. "She's your CEO. You work for her. You live in her house. What happens when she gets bored? What happens when she decides you're not useful anymore?" I looked at Evelyn. For the first time since Rachel arrived, the cold mask broke. She looked afraid. Not of Rachel. Of my answer. Rachel saw it too. "She controls your salary, your career, and now your home," she said. "That's not love, Austin. That's ownership." Evelyn's face went pale. I knew she could destroy Rachel with one sentence. She didn't. She waited for me. That mattered more than any defense she could have given. "I'm not staying because she controls me," I said. Rachel laughed bitterly. "Then why are you here?" I looked around the penthouse. At the dinner prepared before I arrived. At the room upstairs filled with things Evelyn remembered. At the woman who had watched me fall apart and never used it to humiliate me. Because she noticed when I was hungry. Rachel blinked. I stepped closer to her. Because she knew I wasn't sleeping. Because she remembered what food I liked. Because she stood beside me when you tried to make me feel worthless. That's enough to throw away 5 years. "No." I placed the unsigned papers back into the folder. "You already threw them away." Rachel stared at me. Then her voice dropped. "She wants you because you're vulnerable." Evelyn finally moved. She placed her phone on the table and walked toward us. "I haven't asked him for anything. You moved him into your home. I gave him a room. You planned that room 6 months ago." Evelyn's jaw tightened. Rachel smiled without warmth. "So the office rumors are true. You've been waiting." Evelyn stopped beside me. "Yes." The single word stunned all of us. I turned toward her. Rachel's smile vanished. Evelyn looked directly at her. "I waited for him to realize that being loyal to you did not require destroying himself. You were hoping our marriage failed." "No. I hoped you would become worthy of him." Rachel's face hardened. Evelyn continued. "You didn't." The power in the room shifted. Rachel looked at me. expecting me to reject Evelyn's words. I didn't. You think you can give him expensive food and a bedroom and replace me? Rachel demanded. Evelyn's expression returned to ice. I don't need to replace you. She reached down and took the folder from Rachel's hand. You made your position vacant. Rachel grabbed for it, but Evelyn stepped back. Give me those. No. They're legal documents. They belong to Austin too. Evelyn handed the folder to me. Rachel looked furious. You can't force me to sign. No, I said. But my attorney can file a petition without your cooperation. Her confidence faltered. She hadn't expected me to know that. Neither had I until Evelyn's legal department explained my options during the separation. Rachel looked between us. She's already involved in your divorce? She recommended an attorney after you froze our joint account. That money was mine. Half of it was my salary. You were leaving me. You asked me to leave. Rachel's voice rose. Because I thought you would fight for us. The room went silent again. I stared at her. There it was. The truth. You filed for divorce to scare me? I needed you to understand what you were risking. I was risking myself by staying. Her eyes filled with tears. For years, that would have ended every argument. I would have apologized. I would have held her. This time, I felt nothing except exhaustion. Rachel wiped her cheek. Austin, please. I shook my head. No. She looked genuinely shocked. You're choosing her? Evelyn stiffened beside me. This isn't about choosing Evelyn. It obviously is. No. This is me finally choosing myself. Rachel's face collapsed. I hated that it still hurt to see. But pain wasn't the same as doubt. I walked toward the elevator and pressed the button. Rachel remained by the table. You'll regret this, she whispered. Maybe. The doors opened. But it will be my mistake to make. She picked up her purse. As she passed Evelyn, she stopped. You think you won. Evelyn didn't look at her. This isn't a competition. Rachel glanced back at me. It will be when he realizes you only want him because you can save him. The elevator doors closed. Silence returned. I stood there holding the unsigned divorce papers. Evelyn remained beside the table. Her shoulders were rigid. You should call your attorney, she said. I will. I'll have security make sure she can't return. Okay. And tomorrow, I'll arrange separate transportation to the office. I looked at her. Why? Arriving together would worsen the rumors. That was your idea 30 minutes ago. The situation changed. No. Rachel said something that frightened you. Evelyn's eyes lifted sharply. I am not frightened. You are. I'm being practical. You're pulling away. She grabbed her tablet. I have work. I stepped in front of her. Do you think she was right? Her voice turned cold. Move, Austin. Do you? She looked at me. The control in her face cracked again. You lost your marriage today, she said. You don't know what you feel. I know I'm not going back. That isn't the same as knowing what you want next. I didn't say it was. Then stop asking me questions neither of us should answer tonight. She tried to move around me. I caught her wrist. She froze. So did I? My hand loosened immediately, but she didn't pull away. You admitted you were waiting, I said. Her pulse beat rapidly beneath my fingers. I shouldn't have. Was it true? She looked at my hand around her wrist. Then at my face. Yes. The answer was barely audible. My chest tightened. How long? Austin. How long, Evelyn? She slowly pulled free. Long enough to know Rachel was right about one thing. What? Her eyes turned distant. You're vulnerable. She stepped back. And I refuse to become another woman who uses what you need to get what she wants. That isn't what you're doing. You don't know that. I'm standing right here telling you. And yesterday, you were still trying to save your marriage. No. Yesterday, I was trying to survive the end of it. The word stopped her. I placed the divorce papers on the table. I'm not asking you to confess anything. Good. I'm asking you not to punish me because you're afraid of wanting me. Her breath caught. For once, Evelyn Carter had no answer. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Her expression changed instantly. What is it? I asked. She answered the call. Carter. A man spoke rapidly on the other end. I could only hear fragments. Board meeting. Emergency. Conflict of interest. Evelyn's eyes moved to me. When? She asked. A pause. I understand. She ended the call. What happened? She placed the phone down. The article reached the board. And they're calling an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. I waited. Evelyn's voice remained calm, but her face had gone completely still. They want me to terminate you. My stomach dropped. Because of a rumor? Because they believe keeping you employed creates legal and reputational risk. What are you going to do? Her eyes held mine. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she picked up the folder containing my unfinished divorce. First, I'm going to make sure Rachel signs this. And after that, the Ice Queen's expression hardened. After that, I'm going to remind my board who owns the company. She walked toward her office, then stopped. Without turning around, she added, pack nothing. What? If they force a choice tomorrow, Austin, it won't be you leaving this house. Her voice dropped. It will be them leaving my company. At 7 the next morning, Evelyn was already dressed for war. Black suit, white shirt, hair pulled back. No jewelry except the silver watch she wore during major negotiations. I stood in the kitchen holding a cup of coffee I hadn't touched. You didn't sleep, I said. Neither did you. I'm not the one facing a board revolt. She picked up her tablet. It isn't a revolt. What do you call 12 directors trying to force you to fire someone? A scheduling inconvenience. Evelyn. She stopped. The confidence was still there, but I could see what it cost her. The tension in her shoulders. The untouched breakfast. The legal documents spread across the counter. One file was labeled Harrington Merger. I knew that name. Everyone at Carter Global did. The Harrington deal would expand the company's distribution network across the entire West Coast. It had taken 18 months to negotiate and was worth nearly $900 million. I pointed toward the file. What does that have to do with me? Nothing. That means everything. She closed the folder. The Harrington board requested assurances that there is no executive misconduct. My stomach tightened. And if they don't get those assurances? They may delay the signing. Delay or cancel? Her silence answered me. I set the coffee down. You could lose the deal. I could. Because I'm living here. Because someone manufactured a scandal. Same result. No. She stepped closer. The person responsible for the lie is responsible for the consequences. Not you. That sounds good in a courtroom. It doesn't change what happens to your company. My company will survive. What about the employees depending on that expansion? Her jaw tightened. I knew I had found the real pressure point. The merger wasn't only about profit. Carter Global had already begun hiring for new facilities in California, Oregon, and Nevada. Hundreds of jobs depended on the deal closing. You told the board you'd choose me over them, I said. Yes. You can't. I can do whatever I decide. That doesn't mean you should. Her eyes turned cold. Do not confuse your fear with my judgment. This isn't fear. It is exactly fear. Rachel spent years teaching you that your needs were dangerous to everyone around you. Now you're searching for proof she was right. That's not fair. Neither is asking me to sacrifice you so you can feel less guilty. I'm asking you to protect your company. I am protecting it. By risking a $900 million deal. By refusing to let 12 frightened directors control me through a lie. The elevator chimed. Margaret entered carrying Evelyn's coat. The car is ready, she said. Evelyn took it. I looked at the clock. The meeting isn't until 9. I'm meeting legal first. I'm coming with you. No. You said I should walk through the front entrance. That was before the Harrington threat. So now you're hiding me? Her face changed. The accusation landed harder than I intended. I'm protecting you from reporters. I don't need protection. You needed it yesterday. I needed a place to sleep. I don't need to be locked away while you decide my future. I am not deciding your future. The board is. They have no authority to fire you without my approval. But they can pressure you until keeping me costs too much. Her expression hardened. You will never cost too much. The words silenced the room. Margaret looked down. Evelyn seemed to realize what she had said, but she didn't take it back. She put on her coat. Stay here until legal confirms the press has cleared the building. Then she entered the elevator. The doors closed between us. Margaret waited several seconds before speaking. She has never said that about anyone. I looked at the closed doors. That doesn't make it right. No, Margaret said. It makes it honest. I turned toward her. How much could she lose? Margaret hesitated. That isn't my place to discuss. You know, I know Ms. Carter built the expansion around that merger. I know she personally guaranteed several early-stage investments. Personally guaranteed? Margaret's silence confirmed it. If the deal collapsed, Evelyn wouldn't only lose company money. She could lose her own. I went upstairs. The room she had prepared for me no longer felt comforting. It felt expensive. Every book, Every charger, every small detail was proof she had wanted me there long before I was free to understand what that meant. My phone buzzed. A message from my attorney. Rachel has agreed to sign if you waive your claim to the remaining joint savings. I stared at the screen. The remaining account held almost $80,000. Most of it came from my salary and bonuses. Rachel knew I needed money. She also knew I wanted the divorce more. Another message appeared. She says the offer expires at noon. I laughed bitterly. Rachel had turned the end of our marriage into one final transaction. I typed back. Accept it. Send the papers. My attorney called immediately. Austin, that's a significant amount of money. I know. You're legally entitled to a portion. I'm legally entitled to months of fighting too. I don't want them. You don't have to decide this quickly. Yes, I do. Because Evelyn was downstairs somewhere risking hundreds of millions while I fought over $80,000. Because every minute I stayed in her home gave the board another weapon. Because Rachel had been right about one thing. Evelyn controlled the roof over my head, my salary, and my professional future. Even if she never used that power against me, everyone else would. I want it finished, I said. My attorney exhaled. I'll prepare the waiver. I ended the call. Then I opened the closet and took out my suitcases. I packed quickly, not because I wanted to leave, because I didn't trust myself to do it slowly. Every object made it harder. The coffee on the nightstand, the books on the shelf, the slippers Evelyn had bought in my size and then pretended were ordinary guest supplies. When I carried the first suitcase downstairs, Margaret was waiting. No, she said. I'm not asking permission. Ms. Carter told you to pack nothing. She's my boss, not my prison warden. She will come home. That's why I have to leave before she does. Margaret stepped between me and the elevator. She will think she frightened you away. She didn't. She will think she became what Rachel accused her of being. I stopped. That was exactly what I had hoped to avoid. I can't stay here while her company burns. And leaving without speaking to her will save it. It removes the conflict. It removes you. Right now, those are the same thing. Margaret shook her head. Young people always believe disappearing is noble. I'm 28. That is young enough to be foolish. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Then the elevator opened. A security officer stood inside. Mr. Hayes? I tightened my grip on the suitcase. Yes. Ms. Carter instructed us not to allow you to leave. My disbelief turned to anger. She did what? The officer looked uncomfortable. She said you may attempt to make an impulsive decision. This is kidnapping. Margaret folded her arms. Technically, you can leave. Your belongings cannot. I looked at her. You're helping her? I have worked for Ms. Carter for 9 years. Of course I'm helping her. I released the suitcase. Fine. The officer relaxed. I walked into the elevator without it. Sir, she said I couldn't take my belongings. She didn't say I couldn't leave. The doors began to close. Margaret pointed at me. She will find you. I know. And she will be furious. I know that too. The elevator carried me down. I left with only my phone, wallet, and the apartment key still in my pocket. By the time I reached Carter Global, reporters were gathered outside the main entrance. They recognized me immediately. Austin, are you having an affair with Evelyn Carter? Did she promote you during the relationship? Did your wife discover you together? I kept walking. A microphone appeared near my face. Are you living with Miss Carter? Yes, I said. The reporters surged closer. I raised my voice. For one night. Because my apartment was unsafe and she offered me a guest room. There was no affair. There was no exchange for professional treatment. Then why did she prepare a room for you? I stopped. Someone inside the company had leaked that too. I have nothing else to say. Security pulled me through the doors. The lobby went silent. Employees stared from every direction. Some looked embarrassed. Others looked entertained. A man near the elevators whispered, "There he is." I turned toward him. "If you have a question, ask it loudly." His face reddened. No one spoke. I entered the elevator and pressed the button for the executive floor. The boardroom doors were closed when I arrived. Voices came from inside. "You cannot put one employee above this merger," a man said. Evelyn answered, "I am putting company policy above extortion." This is not extortion. Harrington wants stability. They want me to fire a man based on fabricated allegations. They want you to remove a conflict of interest. There is no conflict. He lives in your home. Temporarily. The word cut deeper than it should have. Another director spoke. Then prove it. Terminate him, close the deal, and rehire him after the scandal passes. No. Evelyn, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You are risking $900 million for Austin Hayes. Silence followed. Then Evelyn said, I am risking $900 million to ensure none of you believes you can destroy an innocent employee whenever it becomes financially convenient. I opened the doors. 12 directors turned toward me. Evelyn stood at the head of the table. Her expression changed when she saw me. First shock, then fury. I told you to stay home. You also told security to hold my luggage hostage. One director coughed to hide a laugh. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. We will discuss that later. No, we won't. I walked into the room and placed my employee badge on the table. I resign. The silence became absolute. Evelyn stared at the badge. No, it removes the conflict. You do not resign without speaking to me. I just did. She moved around the table. What did Rachel ask for? The question caught me off guard. How do you know she asked for something? Because you look like a man who just paid too much for freedom. I lowered my voice. She keeps the savings. She signs today. Evelyn's face turned pale with anger. You gave her everything? I gave her money. You earned that money. And I can earn more. One director shifted impatiently. This personal conversation proves our point. Evelyn turned toward him. Speak again, and I will remove you from this board before lunch. He went silent. I picked up my badge. You don't have to choose now. She caught my wrist. Every director saw it. You think walking away saves me? It saves the merger. I don't care. I do. You don't get to make this sacrifice for me. You were ready to make a bigger one for me. Her grip tightened. That was my decision. And this is mine. For 1 second, the CEO disappeared. Evelyn looked like a woman watching something she had waited years for slip through her hands. Then the conference room screen lit up. The Harrington chairman appeared by video. Ms. Carter, he said, we've reviewed the situation. Evelyn released my wrist. The chairman continued. Our board will terminate merger discussions unless Mr. Hayes is removed from Carter Global and your residence immediately. A director leaned back with quiet satisfaction. The choice had become final. $900 million. Hundreds of jobs. Or me. I stepped away from Evelyn. You have my resignation. She looked at the screen, then at the directors, then at me. Her face became cold again. But this time, I knew what lived beneath the ice. Fear, rage, and something neither of us was ready to name. She walked to the head of the table and closed the merger file. Mr. Harrington, she said, your condition is rejected. The chairman frowned. Perhaps you misunderstood. No, you misunderstood. She pressed a button and ended the video call. The directors erupted. What have you done? You just destroyed 18 months of work. The shareholders will remove you. Evelyn remained standing while the room collapsed around her. Then she looked at me. Pick up your badge. I shook my head. Evelyn, pick it up. I can't let you do this. She crossed the room, took the badge from my hand, and clipped it back onto my jacket herself. Every voice stopped. Her fingers rested against my chest for one dangerous second. Then she looked into my eyes. You don't get to leave me every time someone puts a price on your head. My breath caught. This company is bigger than us. Yes, she said. And that is exactly why I cannot teach it that money matters more than people. One director stood. The board will vote to suspend you. Evelyn turned. Call the vote. You may lose control of the company. She smiled without warmth. I own 54% of the voting shares. The director's face changed. Evelyn took my hand. Not my wrist. My hand. Then she led me toward the doors while 12 powerful people watched their leverage disappear. At the threshold, I pulled back. You lost the merger. She faced me. No. What do you mean? The leak came from Harrington's vice president. I stared at her. Legal confirmed it 10 minutes before the meeting. He paid an employee to circulate the photo so their board could renegotiate the price. The directors behind us went silent. Evelyn's expression sharpened. They never intended to walk away. They expected me to panic. A phone rang at the table. Then another. The Harrington chairman's name flashed across the conference screen. Evelyn ignored it. You knew? I asked. I suspected. And you still let them issue the ultimatum? I wanted the board to hear it. Why? She glanced back at the directors. So I could see which of them would sell you first. No one moved. The balance of power had shifted again. Harrington needed Carter Global more than Carter Global needed Harrington. The merger wasn't dead, but several careers in that room were. Evelyn turned back to me. Now we are going home. I left my suitcases there. I know. You held them hostage. I protected them from an unstable man. I resigned 5 minutes ago, and I rejected it. You can't reject a resignation. I just did. Despite everything, I laughed. Evelyn's eyes softened. Then she leaned closer, her voice low enough that only I could hear. You gave Rachel $80,000 to be free. Her hand tightened around mine. Don't you dare give me up for nothing. Evelyn did not release my hand until the elevator doors closed. The moment we were alone, I looked down at our joined hands. So this is professional? No. Her answer came too quickly. I looked up. She seemed to realize what she had admitted. Her fingers loosened, but I closed mine around hers before she could pull away. Evelyn went still. You told 12 directors I wasn't allowed to leave you, I said. I told them you weren't allowed to resign under pressure. That isn't what you said. I was angry. You're still holding my hand. You're holding mine. That sounds like an excuse. It is an observation. I stepped closer. The elevator suddenly felt smaller. Why did you prepare that room 6 months ago? Her gaze shifted toward the floor numbers. We already discussed this. No, you avoided it. I answered. You said you wanted me to stop being miserable. That was true. It wasn't the whole truth. The doors opened into the lobby. Reporters were still outside. Employees stood in groups, pretending not to watch us. Evelyn tried to release my hand again. This time, I let her. Her face changed. Only slightly. But I saw the disappointment. Then the reporters noticed us. They shouted through the glass. Ms. Carter, did the merger collapse? Did you refuse to fire Austin Hayes? Are you two in a relationship? Evelyn kept walking. I followed her toward the private garage. One reporter managed to slip past security. Mr. Hayes, did Ms. Carter sacrifice $900 million for you? I stopped. Evelyn turned sharply. Austin. The reporter pushed the microphone toward me. I looked directly into the camera. She didn't sacrifice anything for me. Evelyn's expression hardened. I continued. She defended an employee from a manufactured scandal. If that cost someone a deal, then the deal was corrupt before I entered the room. The reporter glanced toward Evelyn. Are you denying a personal relationship? I looked at her. She stood several feet away, waiting. For years, she had hidden every feeling behind control. Now the entire city wanted a simple answer from me. I could have protected us with a lie. Instead, I said, I'm saying my private life is no longer available for people to use against her. Evelyn's eyes changed. The reporter tried another question, but security moved him back. We entered the garage. The moment we reached her car, Evelyn faced me. You shouldn't have stopped. I wanted to answer. You gave them another headline. I also defended you. I don't need defending. Neither do I, apparently, but that didn't stop you. She opened the driver's door. I didn't move. Evelyn. What? When were you going to tell me? Tell you what? That you wanted me. Her hand froze on the door. The silence stretched between us. Finally, she said, not today. That isn't an answer. You finalized your divorce less than an hour ago. I stared at her. It's done. Your attorney sent confirmation during the meeting. She reached into her bag and handed me her phone. The message was open. Rachel Hayes signed the final documents. The filing has been submitted. I read it twice. 5 years of marriage ended in 3 lines. How do you feel? Evelyn asked. Empty. Her expression softened. That's why we aren't discussing this. Why? Because emptiness makes people reach for whatever is closest. You think that's all you are? I think you deserve time to know the difference. And what do you deserve? She looked away. That is irrelevant. No, it isn't. I stepped between her and the car door. You risked your position this morning. My position was never at risk. You didn't know that when Harrington gave you the ultimatum. I knew enough. You were still ready to choose me. I chose principle. Then why did you say I couldn't leave you? Her control finally cracked. Because I panicked. The confession stopped me. Evelyn closed her eyes briefly. When you placed that badge on the table, I thought you were doing what you always do. What's that? Making yourself disappear so everyone else could remain comfortable. Her voice lowered. I have watched you do it for years. I swallowed. Years? The first time was at the Denver conference. I remembered it. 3 years earlier, another manager had blamed me for a missed deadline. I had accepted responsibility because exposing him would have cost his team their bonuses. You knew? I knew the report had been altered. Why didn't you say anything? Because you asked me not to. I had forgotten that conversation. She hadn't. Evelyn continued. Then you gave up the New York promotion. You sold your motorcycle. You worked through pneumonia because Rachel wanted to go to Miami. How do you know about Miami? You requested an early bonus payout. You remember all of that? I remember everything about you. The words fell between us. No boardroom. No reporters. No Rachel. Nothing left to hide behind. I stepped closer. How long? She shook her head. Don't. How long have you felt this way? Her eyes lifted to mine. Since Denver. 3 years. My chest tightened. You loved me while I was married. Her face turned cold, but not from anger. From shame. I never touched you. I never asked you to leave her. I never created a reason for you to doubt your marriage. I know. I kept my distance. You did. I transferred you out of my direct reporting line. I stared at her. That was why. Yes. I had believed the transfer meant she didn't trust me. For months, I had worked harder to win back approval I had never lost. You barely spoke to me after that. Because every conversation made it worse. Worse for who? For me. Her honesty hit harder than any dramatic confession could have. Evelyn looked away. When your separation became public, I almost came to you. Why didn't you? Because you were still trying to save it. And the room? She exhaled slowly. I renovated it after you slept in your office the second time. You thought I would move in? No. Then why? Because I needed to know there was somewhere I could take you if you finally broke. I didn't know what to say. She gave a small, bitter laugh. Pathetic, isn't it? No. A woman preparing a room for another woman's husband? You prepared a safe place. You didn't try to take me. I wanted to. The words were barely audible. But wanting you and having the right to ask for you were different things. I reached for her hand. She stepped back. No. Evelyn, you are free today. That does not mean you are ready. What if I am? You aren't. Her certainty hurt. You don't get to decide that. No, she said. But I get to decide what kind of woman I will be. She opened the car door. I will not become your escape from Rachel. I stood there, frustrated and exposed. Then what am I supposed to do? Live. That's your advice? Eat. Sleep. Keep your job. Find out who Austin is when no one is telling him what he owes them. And you? Her hand tightened on the door. I'll wait. The answer was so simple it broke something inside me. You already waited 3 years. I can wait longer. What if I decide I don't want you? For the first time, pain crossed her face openly. Then I'll survive it. She got into the car. I walked around and sat beside her. The drive home was quiet. When we entered the penthouse, my suitcases were still beside the stairs. Margaret looked from me to Evelyn. Should I put them back upstairs? Yes, Evelyn said. No, I said at the same time. Evelyn's expression closed. I picked up the larger suitcase. I'm moving out. Margaret stared at me. Evelyn said nothing. That was worse. I found another apartment, I continued. A better one, close to the office. When? Evelyn asked. During the drive. You signed a lease in 20 minutes? I called the building manager. You planned this before today. I planned to become independent. Her face turned pale. I stepped toward her. This isn't me leaving you. It looks familiar. I need to know I can choose you without needing your house, your salary, or your protection. Her eyes searched mine. And if you still choose me? I lifted the suitcase. Then next time I come through that door, it won't be because you took my luggage. I moved closer. It will be because I came home to you. Evelyn's breath caught. For 1 second, I thought she might stop me. Instead, she took the suitcase from my hand. I almost laughed. Seriously? You said you were leaving. You didn't say you had to carry it. She walked toward the elevator. I followed her. When the doors opened, she placed the suitcase inside, then looked at me. The Ice Queen was back. Almost. You have 30 days, she said. For what? To decide. And if I need longer? You won't. That confidence again. No. She stepped closer and straightened my collar. This time it's hope. The elevator doors began to close. I held her gaze until only a narrow gap remained. Then she said the words that followed me all the way to my empty apartment. I waited 3 years for you to be free, Austin. Her voice softened. Now I'm waiting for you to come back by choice. My new apartment was clean, safe, and completely mine. I hated it. The first night, I slept on a mattress still wrapped in plastic. The second night, I ate takeout over the kitchen sink because I hadn't bought a table. By the fourth night, I understood something I didn't want to admit. Freedom could feel a lot like loneliness when no one was waiting for you. Evelyn never called. She sent exactly 2 messages. Your company access has been restored. And 12 hours later, Margaret says you left your blue tie. I replied, keep it. Her answer came immediately. No. That was all. At work, she treated me like every other manager. No private meetings. No lunches. No rides home. When we passed each other in the hallway, she gave me one professional nod and kept walking. It was exactly what I had asked for. By the end of the week, I wanted to throw something. You look terrible, my coworker Daniel Brooks said. We were sitting in a conference room reviewing quarterly projections. Thank you. I mean emotionally. That's worse. Daniel closed his laptop. So you moved out of the CEO's penthouse? Yes. Voluntarily? Yes. After she nearly destroyed a merger for you? She didn't destroy it. Harrington's stock dropped 11% after she exposed their vice president. That was their problem. And Carter Global gained 3 new clients. That was her plan. Daniel leaned back. Then why did you leave? Because I needed my own life. You have your own life. It just looks miserable. I glared at him. He raised both hands. I'm only saying what everyone else is thinking. Everyone else needs more work. They think she dumped you. She didn't. Some think you dumped her. We weren't together. Daniel stared at me. That might be the saddest sentence I've heard this year. The conference room door opened. Evelyn walked in. Daniel stood so quickly that his chair rolled backward. Ms. Carter. Mr. Brooks. Her gaze shifted to me. Mr. Hayes. That formal tone had started to feel personal. Ms. Carter. She placed a folder on the table. The board approved the revised Harrington terms. That's good. They also approved your promotion. I stared at her. What promotion? Vice President of Regional Strategy. Daniel looked at me with open shock. I didn't touch the folder. I didn't apply. No. You earned it before the scandal. This is a bad time. There will never be a time when insecure people cannot invent a reason to question your success. It will look like favoritism. The board voted unanimously. After you threatened half of them, I removed 2 directors for violating fiduciary duties. That isn't better. Daniel quietly gathered his laptop. I should leave. Evelyn looked at him. You should. He disappeared before I could stop him. I waited until the door closed. Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Because you would have rejected it. I'm rejecting it now. No, you're not. I stood. You can't keep deciding what I accept. You accepted work below your ability for 3 years because Rachel convinced you ambition made you selfish. This isn't about Rachel. Everything you fear is still about Rachel. That's not fair. Neither is making me pretend I don't know what you're capable of. I pushed the folder back toward her. I want the promotion reviewed by an outside committee. It already was. I stopped. Evelyn folded her arms. 3 independent consultants evaluated every candidate. You ranked first. You arranged that? The board did, because they knew you would accuse me of interfering. I opened the folder. The report was there. Scores. Interviews. Performance records. My name at the top. No special treatment. No hidden favor. I looked up. You really thought of everything. Almost everything. Her voice softened. The distance between us suddenly felt fragile. I closed the folder. How have you been? The question surprised her. Busy. That isn't an answer. It is the only one you're entitled to at work. You're angry. No. You haven't called. You asked for space. I didn't ask you to disappear. Her eyes hardened. You moved out, Austin. So I could choose freely. And have you? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Pain flashed across her face before the cold returned. That's what I thought. She picked up the folder and turned toward the door. There's a company gala Friday night. Your promotion will be announced publicly. I don't want that. It isn't optional. Evelyn. She looked back. Bring a guest. Then she left. The door shut behind her. I stood alone, angry for reasons I couldn't explain. Daniel returned 30 seconds later. Is it safe? No. He looked at the closed door. What happened? She told me to bring a guest. Daniel's eyebrows rose. That is either very professional or extremely hostile. I know. Who are you taking? No one. That would be a mistake. Why? Because people already think you're heartbroken. I'm not heartbroken. Daniel studied me. You live alone, eat vending machine dinners, and look at the elevator every time it opens. I'm adjusting. You're waiting. His words followed me for the rest of the day. By Friday, the gala had become the only thing anyone discussed. The event was held at the Langham Ballroom. Executives, investors, and local press filled the room. I arrived alone. The moment I entered, heads turned. The rumors had slowed, but they hadn't died. Then Evelyn arrived. She wore a black dress with a silver line at the waist. No dramatic entrance. No entourage. She didn't need one. Everyone moved toward her. I stayed near the bar. Daniel appeared beside me. You came alone. So did she. No, she came powerful. That's different. Before I could answer, a woman stepped toward us. Claire Donovan, director of marketing. She had been friendly to me before the scandal and aggressively interested afterward. Austin, she said, touching my arm. Congratulations on the promotion. Thank you. I heard you moved into River North. News travels fast. Maybe I could see the place sometime. Across the room, Evelyn looked at us. Her expression didn't change, but the glass in her hand stopped halfway to her mouth. Claire noticed. She smiled and moved closer. Are you free after this? No. I thought you came alone. I did. Then why aren't you free? I looked across the ballroom. Because I'm tired of pretending I don't know where I want to be. Claire followed my gaze. Understanding appeared. Then you should probably tell her. Before I could respond, the stage lights came on. The chairman of the board began announcing the company's new leadership appointments. Evelyn stood near the front. I remained at the back. When my name was called, applause filled the room. I walked to the stage. The chairman shook my hand. Then Evelyn stepped forward with the promotion letter. Every camera turned toward us. Her face was professional. Congratulations, Mr. Hayes. Thank you, Ms. Carter. She handed me the letter. Our fingers touched. She pulled away first. The chairman invited me to speak. I had prepared 3 sentences about growth and responsibility. I forgot all of them. I looked at the employees, the directors, and the reporters who had turned my life into entertainment. Then I looked at Evelyn. I spent years believing that accepting help made me weak, I said. The room quieted. I thought independence meant never needing anyone. So when someone gave me a safe place, defended my work, and asked for nothing in return, I left. Evelyn's expression changed. The chairman shifted beside me. I continued. I told myself I needed distance to make a free choice. I placed the promotion letter on the podium. The truth is, I made that choice the moment she took my suitcase. A murmur moved through the ballroom. Evelyn stepped toward me. Austin. I faced her. I'm not finished. Her eyes widened slightly. For once, I was the one taking control. I moved out because I needed to know I could stand on my own. I stepped away from the podium. And I can. Another step. But standing alone isn't the same as being free. The room disappeared around us. I'm free enough to admit I missed you. Evelyn's breath caught. I stopped in front of her. I missed your terrible orders. Someone in the crowd laughed nervously. I missed Margaret's dinners. I missed arguing with you in the car. I even missed you stealing my things. Her eyes shone. But most of all, I missed the only person who saw me before I remembered how to see myself. Silence. Then Evelyn's gaze dropped to the key in my hand. My apartment key. I held it out. I'm ending the lease. Her voice was barely audible. Why? Because I made my choice. Before she could answer, a director stepped forward. This is completely inappropriate. Evelyn turned toward him. The softness vanished. Then leave. The director froze. This is a company event. And I own the company. A ripple moved through the crowd. Evelyn looked back at me. Then she took the key. For 1 second, I thought she would simply close her hand around it. Instead, she walked to the edge of the stage and dropped it into a champagne glass. The room erupted in shocked whispers. She returned to me. You won't need that again. My heart pounded. I still have furniture there. I bought the building this afternoon. I stared at her. You what? I suspected you might be stubborn. The crowd laughed. I didn't. You bought my building? Only the controlling interest. That is insane. Yes. You promised to wait. I did wait. For 1 week. It was a very long week. She reached up and took my face in both hands. Every camera captured it. Every employee watched. The ice queen who never touched anyone in public pulled me close enough that only inches remained between us. Her voice was steady. Her hands were not. You wanted a free choice, Austin. I made one. No. She shook her head. Say it clearly. The challenge shifted everything. No hiding. No implication. No safe distance. I placed my hands over hers. I choose you, Evelyn. Her eyes closed for one brief second. When they opened, the fear was gone. She turned toward the entire ballroom without releasing me. Austin Hayes is not my scandal, she said. No one moved. He is not my charity case. He is not an employee I purchased, protected, or promoted because of a personal relationship. Her fingers tightened against my face. He earned his position before he ever entered my home. Then she looked at me again. And from tonight forward, I'm the one pursuing him. The room exploded. Applause. Gasps. Camera shutters. A reporter shouted, Miss Carter, are you confirming a relationship? Evelyn smiled. Not the cold smile she used before destroying negotiations. A real one. No. She pulled me against her. I'm announcing my intention. To do what, someone called. Her eyes never left mine. To make sure he never packs another suitcase without me. Then she took my hand and led me off the stage. I laughed as I followed. Where are we going? Home. I haven't agreed to move back tonight. She stopped in the center of the ballroom. Every person nearby went silent again. Evelyn reached into her clutch and pulled out my blue tie, the one I had left behind. She wrapped it around my hand and tugged me closer. You left this at my house. I told you to keep it. I did. Her voice softened. Now I'm keeping the man who wore it. I looked around at the crowd, at the cameras, at the executives who had once called me bot. Then I looked at the woman who had placed her reputation beside mine and refused to retreat. Still ordering me around? I asked. No. She leaned closer. This is me asking. Her grip on the tie tightened. Come home with me, Austin. This time, I didn't hesitate. I took the key to her penthouse from her hand. Then I said the words she had waited 3 years to hear. Take me home. The ride back to Evelyn's penthouse should have felt triumphant. Instead, she kept glancing at me like I might disappear at the next red light. You can stop checking, I said. I'm watching traffic. You've looked at me 6 times. 5. 6. She tightened her hands on the steering wheel. You left once. I moved 12 blocks away. You took both suitcases. You held one hostage. I should have held both. I laughed. Evelyn glanced at me again. 7. When we reached the garage, she turned off the engine but didn't open the door. The silence changed. What is it? I asked. She looked ahead. Tonight was public. I noticed the cameras. You may regret that tomorrow. I won't. You don't know what the headlines will say. Probably that the Ice Queen finally lost control. I did not lose control. You bought my apartment building. A controlling interest. That defense is not helping. Her mouth almost curved. Then the tension returned. Austin, choosing me in a ballroom is not the same as living with me. I know. I work too much. I know. I can be controlling. You stole my luggage. I remember. I don't know how to do this. That confession stripped away every joke I could have made. Evelyn Carter could negotiate billion-dollar contracts without blinking. But asking someone to stay frightened her. I reached across the console and took her hand. Neither do I. Her fingers closed around mine. What if you wake up and realize you only came back because I made you feel safe? Then I'll be grateful you did. That isn't enough. It's not the only reason. She finally looked at me. I continued. I came back because you challenged me. Because you remember everything I pretend doesn't matter. Because when the entire company turned me into a rumor, you never asked me to become smaller to protect you. Her eyes softened. And because when I lived alone, every room felt temporary. I lifted her hand and pressed it against my chest. But your house didn't. Her voice dropped. My house? Not anymore. She stared at me. Then she opened her door. Come upstairs. That sounded like an order. It was. The elevator opened into the penthouse. Margaret stood near the entryway. My suitcases were waiting beside her. Both of them. I looked at Evelyn. You had them brought down? Margaret answered. Miss Carter told me to prepare them in case you returned tonight. Evelyn's expression tightened. I was being practical. Margaret smiled. She changed her mind 11 times. I did not. 9 then. Margaret, I'm going to bed. She passed me and touched my arm. Welcome home, Mr. Hayes. The words settled deep. Evelyn reached for my larger suitcase. I grabbed the handle first. No. Her eyebrows rose. I'm carrying my own bag this time. You'll damage the wheels. It survived a divorce. It can survive the stairs. There is an elevator. You know what I mean. Her hand remained on the handle. Mine covered hers. For one moment, we stood exactly as we had in that prepared bedroom days earlier. Only now, neither of us pulled away. I moved closer. You took this from me the first day. You were making a bad decision. I was moving into an unsafe apartment. Yes. And now, her gaze held mine. Now you are making a better decision. That confident. No. Her voice softened. Terrified. I released the suitcase and touched her face. Good. She frowned. Good. It means this matters. Before she could argue, the elevator chimed again. Evelyn's face turned cold. No one should be coming up. The doors opened. My attorney, Marcus Reed, stepped out holding a sealed envelope. Behind him stood Rachel. Evelyn moved in front of me instantly. Rachel gave a bitter smile. Still protecting him? No, Evelyn replied. Protecting my floors. Your presence lowers the value. Marcus cleared his throat. Rachel requested one final meeting. I didn't, I said. I know, but she signed an additional settlement document. Rachel held out the envelope. I'm returning the money. I stared at her. What? The 80,000. Why? Her eyes moved toward Evelyn. Because I don't want people saying she bought your freedom. Evelyn's expression didn't change. You are several days too late to become concerned with his dignity. Rachel ignored her. I watched the gala live stream. I almost laughed. Of course you did. You looked happy. The anger in her voice was gone. That unsettled me more. Rachel continued. I kept waiting for you to look back. I did look back. Not at me. Silence followed. She handed the envelope to Marcus. I spent years believing you would always be there. Even when I hurt you. Even when I told you to leave. Her eyes filled, but she didn't look away. I thought love meant you had nowhere else to go. I said nothing. She gave a small, broken laugh. Then she showed up and proved you did. Evelyn's hand found mine. Not possessive. Steady. Rachel saw it. I'm not asking you to come back, she said. I know that door is closed. It is. She flinched, but nodded. I know. Marcus handed me the envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for the full amount. I looked at Rachel. This doesn't fix what happened. No. It doesn't erase 5 years. I know. Then why return it? Because losing you was my consequence. Her gaze shifted to Evelyn. Keeping your money would just make me the woman who charged you for leaving. For the first time, Rachel's apology felt real. Not because she asked for forgiveness. Because she expected nothing. I folded the check. Thank you. She nodded. Then she looked at Evelyn. You won. Evelyn's expression remained serious. No. Rachel frowned. Evelyn tightened her hand around mine. He did. Rachel looked at me one final time. Then she stepped into the elevator with Marcus. Before the doors closed, she said, Be happy, Austin. This time, there was no threat beneath it. I will. The doors shut. I stood there holding the check. Evelyn looked at it. What will you do with the money? Buy back my motorcycle. No. I turned toward her. No. You almost killed yourself on that thing. You've never seen me ride. I saw photographs. You research my motorcycle? I research everything. I smiled. What else should I buy? She looked toward the suitcases. Nothing tonight. We carried them upstairs together. My room looked exactly as I had left it. The books, the coffee, the charger. But there was something new on the bed. A key. Not the temporary guest key she had given me before. A permanent access card with my name printed beneath hers. Evelyn Carter. Austin Hayes. I picked it up. You already had this made? This afternoon. Before the gala? Yes. What if I hadn't chosen you? Her face became serious. I would have kept waiting. For how long? As long as necessary. I placed the key down. Then I opened my suitcase. Evelyn watched as I took out one shirt and hung it in the closet. Then another. Her shoulders slowly relaxed. You believe me now? I asked. Not yet. I took out my shoes. Now. No. I placed my watch on the nightstand. Now. Her mouth curved. Possibly. I walked toward her. What will convince you? She looked at the suitcase. Empty it. You want me to unpack every item tonight? Yes. That could take an hour. I have time. You have meetings tomorrow. I'll cancel them. The shareholders might revolt. I own 54%. I laughed. Then I reached into the suitcase and pulled out the last object packed at the bottom. My wedding photograph. The glass had cracked during the move. Rachel and I stood beneath an arch, smiling at a future we never reached. Evelyn's expression changed. You kept it. I forgot it was there. She looked away. I removed the photograph from the frame. Then I tore it once. Not angrily. Cleanly. The marriage had happened. It had shaped me, but it no longer owned me. I dropped the pieces into the trash. Evelyn watched silently. You don't have to erase your past for me, she said. I'm not erasing it. I closed the empty suitcase. I'm making room. Her eyes shone. I took the suitcase downstairs and placed it inside the storage closet. When I returned, Evelyn stood by the window. I wrapped my arms around her from behind. She stiffened, then slowly leaned back against me. No more suitcases, she whispered. No promises. She turned in my arms. My heart was beating hard enough that she had to feel it. One day we might travel. That is acceptable. We may move. Only if I approve the building. You really are impossible. And you came back. I did. Her hands rested against my chest. This is your last chance to change your mind. No. Austin. No more waiting. I lowered my forehead to hers. You spent 3 years standing at a distance because you respected my marriage. Her breath caught. You gave me space when leaving hurt you. I touched her cheek. You let me choose. She closed her eyes. So I'm choosing clearly. When she opened them, every wall was gone. I love you, Evelyn. She stopped breathing. For one long second, the woman who always had an answer said nothing. Then she grabbed my shirt. You cannot say that and remain 3 feet away. We're not 3 feet apart. Too far. She pulled me closer. I kissed her. There was nothing cold about Evelyn Carter. Her hands tightened against my back. Mine held her like I finally understood what coming home meant. When we separated, she kept her forehead against mine. I love you too, she whispered. How long have you wanted to say that? 3 years, for months, and 11 days. I stared at her. You counted. I remember everything about you. I smiled. Then I picked up the permanent key from the bed and placed it in my pocket. Evelyn watched the movement. Does this mean you're staying? I looked at the empty suitcase, the room she had prepared, and the woman who had once taken my belongings because I was too broken to admit I needed somewhere safe. The first time I entered her home, she had decided for me. This time, the decision belonged entirely to me. I took her hand and led her toward the door. Where are we going? She asked. Downstairs. Why? We're moving my books into your room. Her eyebrows rose. My room? You said all my things were moving into your house. That was before. Before what? Her fingers tightened around mine. Before it became our house. I smiled. Exactly. She stopped at the top of the stairs and pulled me back. No, Austin. My heart sank for half a second. Then she placed my hand over her heart. Not our house. Her voice was soft, but certain. Our home. And this time, when she told me to follow her, I did. Not because she was my CEO. Not because I needed saving. Not because I had nowhere else to go. I followed because Evelyn Carter had spent years waiting for me to become free. And now that I was, there was only one place I wanted to be. With her.